So volcanoes obviously comes up when we're talking about tectonic plates, and that's of course because of subduction. So when you have some oceanic crust and it meets another piece of crust, it can slip underneath it, and that process of a plate slipping underneath another one is called subduction. So there's a diagram of subduction going on just over here. So here's some crust here, and this is a convergent plate boundary, and this crust is sliding underneath this plate. You get lots of earthquakes there, but then of course what happens when this rock goes into the mantle? Well, it melts, and it can form what's called a magma chamber. So there's this, it'll melt and create pressure and gases, and some liquids will turn into gas and build up this enormous pressure, and eventually the pressure may become so large that the magma forces its way up out of the crust, out of what's called a volcano. And volcanoes are obviously really, really dangerous. And in fact, the most dangerous part of a volcano is this stuff here, which is just really hot, boiling hot ash and rock. It's called a pyroclastic flow. And it just zooms down the side of a volcano and just kills everything in its path. But these are happening because of tectonic plates meeting each other and resulting in these very kind of aggressive volcanoes. Of course, if a volcano is just when magma reaches the surface, and we consider a divergent plate boundary, well, that's another example of a volcano. The plates move apart and magma just kind of slowly seeps to the surface. It's not quite as aggressive as the volcanoes that are formed, as these subduction zones where one plate goes underneath the other. But when we think about all of the locations of all the volcanoes and the locations of the earthquakes on Earth, and we plot them on a map, we'll actually find that lots of them are located in a particular kind of circle, which is where lots of tectonic plates are meeting. And this circle is called the Ring of Fire, because this is where most of the volcanoes on Earth currently happen. And it's where lots of plates are meeting together or rubbing past each other. So these are parts of Earth where, well, there's going to be an increased rate of volcanoes where tectonic plates meet. There's far more, tectonic activity. This is where and Ring of Fire is because this is where all the volcanoes are on Earth. Something which is also really interesting and quite fortunate when you consider that we live in Australia is that Australia is not on the edge of a tectonic plate. It sits right in the middle of a tectonic plate. And because it's right in the middle of a plate, it actually experiences not a great deal of tectonic activity. So not any big serious earthquakes, no big volcanoes on the Australian continent, and that's because we're quite a way away from tectonic plate boundaries. But of course, volcanoes do form right where tectonic plates meet each other.